Safe. Happy Tuesday morning. It's like bright and breezy. Early bird catches the worm and all that. But if you're one of the few people that probably ends up watching this, then welcome. Maybe you're watching it on catch up. Maybe you've tuned in live. Maybe you are one of the few people that's tuned in live right now. It's like 9:45 in the morning, which means in America it's probably like 3 in the morning or so. It's like the middle of the night. But I'm not in America, so it's a good time to get to work on the game. And yeah, for anyone who is watching it on catch up, well done to you too. Pick up yourselves. Now, let's get on with it. Here's the game. And we've got a little bit of progress to show off from yesterday evening. After I finished streaming, I was messing around and we made this script here, which quite simply sets the palette. We've also moved the master shader into this scene manager bit now, so we can load levels in and out here, but we have this master shader controlling the actual palette of the whole thing. Inside the level, we still have the light and dark light mask, so we can make light and dark areas. And we have the water effect, which I'll show off in a minute as well, which is also looking cool now. But we changed in here the stretch mode to viewport, which keeps the pixels chunky, basically, which is what we want for making it look like a Game Boy game. And yeah, and then this master shader script is cool. So just when on ready, we just set the palette, and setting the palette just changes the 4 colors which are on this shader here. Which is very nice. And so then we have all these palettes. I've just been loading them in just off of low spec, just finding palettes, putting the 4 colors, the hex codes in. And then, you know, if we want 2-bit sunrise, it's in there. And we get 2-bit sunrise. Looks very nice. And if we wanted, I don't know, Barbie, then we can just put Barbie in there. Save, and boom, we have the game running in the Barbie color scheme now. Not that that one is particularly appropriate. Nostalgia here, this one, in fact, no, I think CRT GB is probably the best, like, true Game Boy palette we found so far. I really like this one, very bright. We might use this for, like, the first world with, like, you know, with, like, a sort of jungle feeling to it. Look at the water shader now. How cool is that? With the stretch mode set to viewport, the distortions it gives are still whole pixels. Now this is not scaled properly, but the effect it has on the sprite behind it, I think is really cool. The character does look a bit too much like Mario at the moment. That needs I think we just need to basically start over with the character, but for now, you know, it's a good enough placeholder. Anyway, so that's how this palette swapping thing works, which is pretty cool. Now, I think this area change swapper thing and color change area, I don't think we're going to use these. Think I might. So it's got that, but then where's that script? Where? Show in file system. It's in levels, area change color, and then color change area, I think, is the scene that has that script on it. Correct. Yeah, I don't think we're going to use. I'm going to just tidy these out of the project. And then delete that as well. And I think that's probably fine. But we've got a list of things to get on with today. The dart shooting little wall tiles. And a breath mechanic for the water would be good as well. And then I've called this NPCs, but I mean, really it's just another hazard. It's just a little spring head. I mean, I don't know. we can think about those and whether we want any other NPCs. Let's see how fast I can just get through these 2 points first. Then the sort of rough plan is then to finish this gameplay loop logic, so we can do restart levels on game over, the level exit, which will be a plinth that you have to put the idle onto, and then the scene manager script, level loading in and out. This is just some logistics. Once we've done this, like once we've done all of this, you'll see there's a break then, and because then we have these, which are obviously very meaty topics. But I want to get to this point by the end of like Thursday at the latest. So we've got 3 days to do all of this, and I think I may be able to get to this point by the end of tomorrow even. Let's see how we go. But the dart shooter wall should work really almost exactly the same as the spikes. Except that we need to create some kind of projectile for them to shoot. So let's do that. So we want to start with a static body, and we'll call it dart shooter. I guess that's fine, or maybe dart trap. It's just a nicer, more succinct name for this object. Okay. And I guess we can just use the test demo tiles on it again. So we'll add a sprite. We'll add a collider. The sprite can be demo tiles. And let's use this middle one here. So V-frames are 3, and we want to be on that frame. And let's make it a bit darker. Like that. That should be fine. We'll see how that comes out, like once all the, you know, process has been applied to it, but it doesn't really matter. I'll be able to do something with it. But let's say we actually want to flip it, because we want it to probably by default be shooting. Actually, no, by default we want it to shoot left towards the player from the right hand side of the screen. It would be cool to have ones that can shoot both ways though, so I think ultimately shooting to the right is probably a more sensible default position. I'm not going to flip the sprite though, because we can draw the thing shooting to the right. Stefano, yes, how are you, man? Good morning indeed. Do you want to see what we've got so far? Shall I show you? I was just showing off a little bits and bobs, but as you've just landed in the chat, check it out. We have our guy running around, looking a little bit too like Mario at the moment. But we're gonna. I think this is a placeholder. We're gonna make him look a bit cooler. But we can pick up blocks and put them down. And then this is the idle. So this is the unlucky thing, because the game, the sort of theme is unlucky. So the idea is that you've got this cursed idol that you've stolen, and you've got to go put it back. It's like Indiana Jones in reverse, because the idol's causing you too much bad luck. So look, when you're holding the idol, you lose you go down to 1 heart. You're like on an insta kill scenario while you're holding it. And in these spikes that come and go, they're like a spike trap. They go, oop, spikes, and then they're gone. But when you're holding the idol, they're just always there, permanent spikes. These platforms we can walk on. When you're holding the idol, they disappear. They're like crumbling platforms when you're holding the idol. The idol can also be used as like a button here. We've got doors and buttons, which obviously the plain block here can also do that. John Indy, yeah. John Indy. I just got that. I was like, who's John? And then look, we've got this cool water effect, which is pretty nice, but still preserving the pixels of like a Game Boy resolution. And these light areas here, you see, they like fold the 4-color palette down into 3 colors. So these are like darker colors in here, and then you've got a bias towards lighter colors in here. So it's only only 3 colors in these light and dark areas, but it's cool because we're doing it with shaders, so none of the sprites actually need to change. Yeah, they're shaders. So Pete's been getting into doing the shaders, to be fair. Pete wrote these, not me. But yeah, so we have this, which creates like a layer where we sort of simplify the base sprite. But then up here in the scene manager, we have this master shader, and this is where we're applying the actual palette to the game. So everything's being made in grayscale. Inside the level, we have these dark and bright areas, which just affects the grayscale at the back. And then in the scene manager here, we have the master shader applying the 4 colors. And we have this nice script I did late last night where we can just throw palettes into this dictionary here. And, you know, let's say we wanted to look at fuzzy 4. Then we just put that in, and on ready it's going to load it in. But in future, we could also change these in code. So different worlds could have different palettes, which should also be fun. But there you go. So there it is in fuzzy 4 palette. So yeah, pretty nice. It's a LUT. What's a LUT? L-U-T. I presume LUT stands for something. But yeah, so that's all pretty fun. A lookup table. Aha. Sure. Exactly. So we can just grab whatever palettes we want. I think I really like this 2-bit sunrise because it gives a real like Temple of Doom kind of vibe. These like the browns and yellows and the oranges here. It feels pretty good, I think, and it's like a bright and vibrant scheme. So yeah, looking good. And we're just basically now working our way through the different hazards. So the spikes, they're done. They're always out when you're in unlucky mode, when you're holding the idle. We've done the player hitbox and health. We've done doors and buttons, breaking platforms, picking up and movement and stuff. So we're on to, basically we're going to have these little blocks in the wall that shoot darts at you. And when you're holding the idle, they'll shoot them a lot faster. So that's what we're going to make right now. We've got this dart trap that we're working on. And it can go in elements in a new folder called dart trap. Dart trap. Okay. Yeah, so it should be fun to get this going. Like, I think there'll be some cool puzzles. Like, if you imagine, let's do our classic and go into paint. But if you imagine, like, a room where there's a button and there's a door to the exit, but you've got the plinth in here that you need to put the idle on. Okay, so you put the idle down on here and the door opens, but then when you go in, like, you can't. So then you have to go to the rest of the level, come up here, where you find a different block that you then bring back to put here so you can bring the idle through. It's like one example. But then also, like, this route up here could have the dart traps. So, like, you can easily go and explore that area without the idle and see the block you need. But then let's say there's another door here and you need the idle on that block to get that block out, and you know what I mean. So yeah, I can see how we're just gonna make Gravity Boy or Aqua Boy style little puzzle rooms, basically. So interesting when you go, I have one block, but it's the idle. But if I pick up the idle, the traps activates. How do I do it? Exactly. This is exactly it. So then it's going to be a case of, yeah, picking and choosing carefully where you take the idle around the level. And the other thing with these dart traps, which actually I should probably put into the list here, but the dart shooter, let's just call it dart trap. That's what we're calling it in the game now. Shoots faster when unlucky, but also the darts. Let's do this as a separate point here. Darts push boxes / the idle. So this is another thing I think would be fun, would be, can you make a dart hit a box and it knocks it off like the edge of something? Exactly. When you hold the idle, the temple wants to kill you. And then we're thinking about just like in Gravity Boy, where we had those enemies where when you were on high gravity, if you jumped on their head, you killed them. But if you were on low gravity, if you're on low gravity and you jumped on their heads, you bounced off them. And then obviously if they walked into you from the side, you'd die. We're going to have a similar thing here. We'll have these little dudes. I don't know, but they'll be little like spider, kind of like stone spider monsters or something. But they'll run around and they'll run faster when you're holding the idle. And yeah, if they run into you, they kill, like classic Mario. If they run into you, they kill you. If you jump on their heads, you bounce off them. But you'll bounce the same height whether you're lucky or unlucky, but what we'll do is we'll just make them move faster when you're unlucky, so it'll be harder to aim your jump onto their head. And then, the water, we're going to have the same, similarly to the health. The idea with the water is that you'll have like a bar come up when you jump in the water, under the hearts there. And that will be your air, but then like, look, you see when you hold the idle, you lose 2 of your 3 hearts. And the same will go for your air. When you're holding the idle, you'll have 1/3 of the amount of air as when you're not holding it, which I think will create some other fun things. And we want to connect water level changes up to buttons as well. So we've got a door there that we can change with a button, but changing the water level would be fun. Having considered having things totally inactive when the idle is down. Like, you do this to make a puzzle when you hold the idle long enough to lure an enemy into a specific spot. Yeah. That would be cool. You have to see about how much AI we're going to put on these NPC little springhead dudes. Whether we make it so that like they won't walk off ledges when you're not holding the idle, but when you are holding the idle, they will. Or something like that. So then they can like kamikaze themselves off an ledge to get to a different area when you're holding the idle. That would be fun. But yeah, like basically we just implement little mechanics, and just as long as there's a slight difference to how you interact with it when you're holding the idle or when you're not, then we'll be able to draw puzzles out of them. So for the next day or two, the plan is to just kind of do as many things like this as I can. And then I want to finish the gameplay loop logic by like the end of Thursday, so that then we've got like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to just like knock out levels and menus and stuff, but have all the mechanics and everything working by the end of Thursday at least. So Dart Trap. This guy is gonna have a script, which is gonna probably be like in many ways like almost identical to the spikes, I guess. Probably not, actually. Probably more similar to the trapped floor, which is a bit of a shorter script. So let's just copy that one for now. So, yes, it wants a reference to the player. It won't have a trap timer yet. It won't have player detection yet. We'll probably add these things later. It will want that unlucky thing, and it's going to want to connect to the idle pickup and put down signals. And it's going to want to have those functions. And then that stuff can go. So this is like the core. This is like the core of every script for every object in the game. I could save this as a template, but it doesn't take that long to do, and we're probably only going to make it 0 more times. Or maybe with the NPCs, we might make it 1 more time. Okay, so Hugo, how are you? Fully simulated water physics. Yeah, we've been there. We've been there before. And hi, how are you? Okay, so what we want is the dart trap is going to have a timer, actually. Did I just call it timer on there? Yeah, let's just call it timer on here. And it won't be a one shot. We want it to just keep going and keep going and keep going. Although, no, maybe we want to be in control of when it re-triggers, because we're going to be constantly telling it a new time. We don't want it looping itself. We want to, every time it times out, we want to set a new timer based on whether you're holding the idle or not. So we'll want the timer to connect to the script, and we'll want there to be a couple of constants up here, I suppose, or maybe they're export variables. What did I call it with the spikes? We called them something like spike time and cooldown time. Okay. The dart trap, what we want, firstly we want to spell the word export correctly. We want like a slow cooldown. Let's say like the default is 3 seconds, and then the fast cooldown will be like 1 second. Why don't we say base cooldown and unlucky cooldown? That's a little bit more descriptive. Well, I just thought when you pick up the idol, you could have its eyes light up and use that palette effect to make it light up a radius around it for extra spookiness. We discussed exactly that, you know. And you know what we decided was that the idol itself moving between the different light looks cool. But if it was, we actually were discussing the opposite. We were discussing that the idol would make it darker around you, therefore making it harder. But then we thought the problem is just that then you don't get to see the idol in different lighting effects, because it's just always, it's always got the darkness, or it's always got one of these effects following it around. And so we just thought, you know, that these are just going to be best used to add atmosphere in just like choice moments. Because the problem is these lighting effects, they're cool, but we lose detail. In order to make it happen with only 4 colors, these zones only have 3. These zones only have 3. And yeah, you lose a bit of sprite detail. So we considered it and we thought, you know what, it's better if these are just used for lighting effects rather than something that like that follows the idol around necessarily. But we might have torches on the wall that flicker, and you notice this is a sprite. So we could use animated sprites for these masks here instead of just a regular sprite. It could be an animated sprite, it could be something flickering and moving on the back wall. So once we have some proper brick textures, and yeah, you know, so it could be pretty fun, like the amount of lighting effects we can do. And that's why we want to leave a lot of time for this adding juice and polish part. Okay, so this is setting this variable, and then we just want to have like a function here called shoot dart. Yeah. Oops. And then when the timer times out, well, let's just pass that for now. When the timer times out, we're gonna shoot the dart, and then we're gonna start the timer again, and we'll give it base cooldown by default, but we'll say if unlucky, then obviously you're gonna do the unlucky one. Right, that should work. And then we just need to make it be able to shoot things and add some dithering. Yeah, exactly. Like we can have dithered textures that are animated as well for like different lights and stuff. It's gonna be nice. And I'm sort of thinking like change the color palette for each world. So world 1 would be a jungle. We have a bright green palette. World 2 is going to be like the ruins outside the temple, where you have like maybe like a blue kind of spooky evening palette. And then the third world will be when you're in the temple itself, and we're going to use this kind of the rich orange one that I've got set up now, I think. Like this would be world 2. But yeah, I mean, we can obviously play with so many of these. Where is that script? Oh yeah, it's not up there. The script will be here, right? Like I've kind of marked a few. That's the green one I like for world 1. That's like the blue one I like for world 2, and that's potentially the one I like for world 3. But then also we might just give the player the choice of flicking between these whenever they want as well. Like the select button on the Game Boy, we could use that select button to be like palette swap. Might be fun. Right, but this is it. So now we just need a dart scene, and we want this guy to instantiate the dart scene. Oh, the other thing would be export variable for flip. So we'd say a shoot left is false. But then, yeah, so by default they'll be shooting to the right, but we can just tick shoot left and it will change it into a left. Or maybe we want all 4 directions. Oh, yeah, because shooting darts upwards could be fun. They wouldn't be able to necessarily knock. Oh, it's interesting. I can't think of a reason why you'd want to do that. Maybe we'll just start with left and right. Up and down darts would be very cool, though. No, I think we're going to want them, aren't we? It could shoot in all directions unless there's blocks right next to it. Yeah, so we just dynamically define which direction it shoots in based on what we surround it with. That's cool. That would be elegant. It would also, we'd lose a bit of flexibility there if we wanted them like not surrounded by blocks. But maybe the best way of doing this is just having 4 balls. Here, we could just have shoot up, shoot down, shoot left, shoot right. So we can make them. We can make one that shoots in all 4 directions, or we can just like deactivate and activate the edges just in these tick boxes. Maybe that's the way to do it. Do you know what I mean? So up, down, left and right. And then maybe by default it's just shooting right like that, yeah? Okay, this looks good. I want to see what it looks like inside the level. So if we instantiate one now in... No, not inside the light masks. Just put it there at the bottom of the tree is fine. And then, why is it being funky? I guess. What? So it should be a it should be a square. Its scale is fucked because it was created as part of a child of something that's already got a weird scale on it. Okay. Cool. Well, we worked that out at least. It's showing up as a black inside there. Okay, but here it shows up like as something reasonable. Let's put it there and set this one to shooting left, the one that we've instantiated here. So it'll be shooting across there like that. That'd be good. Now, what we sort of want then is we want to maybe we should call this shoot darts. So the darts will want to be sort of given a direction to move in as part of their like setup. And what type of object do we want them to be? Probably character bodies. Because then they'll be able to collide with things. So let's make a dart. And I think a character body 2D is the way to go. We may change that. But I can just imagine moving this guy around in code is going to be the easiest. And then we'll give it a collider. That's not a collider. Just chucked like a 3D object onto it. Yeah, we don't want any of that kind of out of body chaos going on. So for this then, if I say that it's got like a lot of frames, like 24, then that's like 1 pixel high, right? Well, I guess 2. That's fine. And then we give it like that. Okay, so now it's like a little black box. That will be fine for now. And then we'll give it a collision shape. Yeah. Just have like mad graphics on the dots. We were saying it would be really funny for the audio, because the audio, like with this jam, they say, you know, keep it in the spirit of the Game Boy, but there's no actual specific requirements with the audio. You could just have like full HD audio in the game. So we're saying it'd be really funny if we do like chip tunes, like maximum 4 channels, like true to the Game Boy for all the sound, except for when you pick up the idle, there's just this like HD choir, just like, oh, it just comes in like over the top of the chip tunes, but it's just like completely otherworldly sound from the idle. Would be very funny. I guess let's put the origin of it like in the middle of the dart. I think that makes sense. Yeah, just out of this world spooky vocals coming in whenever you hold the dart would be very, very funny. Okay, but there is a category for like Game Boy feels, so I think we are going to just keep the audios like completely true to the like, you know, the limitations of the Game Boy, should we say. So we'll save this in Dart Trap. The dart scene can also go in there. That's perfect. Binaural whispers, yeah, just like full like 5-channel surround sound. Okay, so the dart's default direction to be shot in will be to the right. I think that makes sense, and then we can rotate it round based on its angle. So that should be fine. Then motion mode could be floating, I think, rather than grounded. What we really want is as soon as it collides with anything, it just goes into nothing. But the thing that it collides with should receive a force. If that thing is the player or a box or the idle. Now the idle and the box are rigid bodies. So we need to move them around with code. So you need to apply a force to them, which I think will be totally fine. But it means that they'll probably need little force detectors, I believe. Yes. Now here's a question. Why does the dart need to be a physics object at all? Can't it just be an area? Yeah, I think this would be easier. I think I might start this again. Funky things happen sometimes when you do this change type. But I think I'm gonna change it to a node. I'm hoping that downgrading the node from a more complicated node 2D down to a node 2D is fine. It means that it doesn't need the collider, which is fine. And what we want now is an area where we just say, like, yeah, we'll just call it area. And the collider is a child of that area now. And then this area, we want it to just detect various types of collisions, and then it can kind of trigger various functions on the objects it hits. So like if it hits world, then it will be destroyed. Is the player still on the world? No, the player's just on player. And then these guys, they're on world and they're pick-upable. Clean code for maybe not the full physics. Yeah, exactly. So we just end up with an area on the dart. Because we're just going to... I just don't want it to have gravity or anything. I want it to just move in a straight line across the screen until it hits something. Now, the question is... because the idols and the boxes... When we collide with something here, when this area says, you know, like body entered, because the tile map will also be technically a body. Took me a while to work that one out one time, but we learnt that lesson. They are actually not areas. Each tile that has a collision layer on, like, applied to it is a body. So in all cases we're going to be, let's put a script on here. In all cases we're going to be colliding with a body. So when we do collide with a body, we want to check first, like, hey, is it a player? Yeah, so the player isn't in a group, but the box and idols are. Let's give the player a group, just so we can really easily check if we've hit the player or not. And then so if body is in group player, then we'll do some thing. L if it's in group box, or idle, we're going to do the same thing, and we'll give the box and the idle the same function to be like get hit by dart, or it's just hit a wall. If it's not one of those three things, because these are also the buttons, the doors, the spikes, the dart trap blocks themselves, these and the trapped floors, these are all also bodies. So just everything else it could possibly hit is there. And we could add an animation of it, like whatever, grumbling at that point. But for now, this will do. I guess this guy needs like the physics process running on it. Probably could just do process, but like let's do physics process. And yeah, we sort of need to set like a vector, like a direction. So we'll say the variable direction is a vector to right by default, but then this we can change when we instantiate the dart. We can then just set the direction there, and then we're just gonna say global position plus equals direction times delta, which should work, he says confidently. Here's why code totally different. I'd make it a signal that says, hey, wherever you are, I've hit you. Up to you to pick up the phone and do what you've got to do. Right, yeah. So rather than calling a specific function in here, you'd just say hit. Basically, you'd just send to anything that's been hit the same kind of function call, just like I've hit ya. That makes sense. That's probably a tidier way of doing it. All of these things, like, it's like just intuition, isn't it? It just takes so much time for your intuition to kind of move into those kinds of patterns. There's loads of ways where I have that intuition that I didn't have before, but then there's still tons of things where I just don't. Where I just like put things together and like I'm not really appreciating how much simpler it could be. Yeah, you can. I've done that. So with the player has some custom signals here. Idle picked up and idle put down. So that then all these different other options, well, the dart doesn't care actually, but the dart trap is going to care. And so it's connected to those signals and then it has its functions. And everything that's connected to those signals has functions called on idle pick up and on idle put down, basically. And these connections being made when on ready. Okay, so I think this works. So let's try and shoot darts. So this scene needs to be like ready to be instantiated here. And we'll say var dart is dart instantiate, like that. For now, because this is set to, well, we're going to want it to shoot to the left. So let's just do that. Let's just say get parent dot add child dart, and then dart dot direction equals left, and then global position equals the global position of the dart trap, but its origin is right in the middle, so we want to displace that probably by like 16 pixels to the left. This guy's this guy's 8 pixels wide, so if we displaced it by 12 pixels, it would be there. So if we do 13, it will be outside. So let's say we do global position, and then we say position dot y, no, dot x minus equals 13. So that should be shooting them to the left now. I'm not seeing them. I was expecting those to be coming out quite regularly. Auto start on the timer is the problem. Yeah, cool, man. They're fucking insanely slow. So $20 or something. And then we'll do direction times speed times delta. And then when they hit the wall back here, they should queue free. Because they've got nothing to do when they hit the player, but when they hit the wall, they should just vanish, and they do. And 20 is nowhere near fast enough. Try 200, go 10 times faster. Okay, that's probably too fast. I mean, that's going to take any player out. 80 maybe? That feels good. It's quite fast, but like even if it's there on the screen, there's a possible reaction there that I can have. I think that looks good. This could be an export variable too if we wanted, you know, maybe for now we'll just keep it as a constant speed, I think, actually. But from a gameplay point of view, it's nice for the player if, like, they're moving at predictable speeds. You see a dart trap, you're like, that guy's going to shoot a dart. I know what a dart is. And we can change the regularity of them with these export variables here anyway. Oh yeah, that's one thing to check then. Does this work? So they're shooting them every 3 seconds. Clearly. What if I'm holding the idle, then they go every 1 second? Yeah. I put the idle back down. And they slow back down again. Very nice. That is excellent. The other question is, you see when it actually changes. As soon as you pick up the dart, it's almost like we want to do this. So when you pick up the idle, it should just shoot one immediately and start the timer on the unlucky cooldown. Yeah. And then if you put down the idle, let's like restart the timer on the base cooldown, so that the kind of change happens instantly when you pick up or put down the idle. Like you get that nice gap now because I put it down. And I pick it up, it just immediately like starts firing. Yeah, I think that feels more responsive. So that's cool. Now, of course, we're just hard coding in the fact that it's shooting left here. So now we want it to shoot in different directions based on what we've put in there. And I could just check this. This one could shoot down and up as well. So yeah, we can test this nicely here. Now, is the easiest thing just 4 if statements. We just duplicate this, probably. So let's just do that because it's a jam. So if shoot up, do all of that. Up, down, left, and right. When you're up, when he was up, he was up. When you were down, you were down. What's that? The Grand Old Duke of York. Anyone know that nursery rhyme? It's probably just a very English nursery rhyme. When he was up, he was up. When he was down, he was down. When he was only halfway up, he was neither up or down. Okay, this might be too much, but if the idle had a limited range in which traps are affected, it could be used to synchronize 2 traps so that maybe you have a window to slip past. Yeah, interesting. We did consider that as well. We were talking about what if the idle only made things unlucky within a radius, right? Rather than just as a global like state change to the whole level. That's something we could definitely play with, couldn't we? Be interesting to see. Right. 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 Problem is, you'd need to show that radius somehow. Yeah. There'd be an element of working out how to make that work, right? Okay, so when we shoot the dart up, we want the y coordinate to be plus 13. When we shoot the dart down, we want the y coordinate to be... Oh, no. We want, when we shoot it down, to be plus 13. And when we shoot it up, to be minus 13. Then shooting left is minus, and then this is plus on the x. We've got those directions in, but now we also need to rotate the dart. So if we're shooting up or down, then dart dot rotation degrees plus equals 90. And same goes for down. I don't think it's going to have a front or a back, so it doesn't really matter. It might eventually, actually. So if we're shooting it up, this would be minus, and if we're shooting it down, we'd want to rotate it like plus, like that. So that should work. If the sprite that we make is facing to the right, which is kind of that 0 degrees is pointing to the right. So I always do that now. I learned that lesson over the years. So now, if I come here into sandbox and we look at this dart trap, if I tick shoot up as well, we should have it shooting up as well. Yay. Okay, so that's working. And now we want to make it hurt the player when it hits the player. And we want to make it push the blocks around when they hit the blocks. So that will be interesting. I guess what we could do to test that is put this guy here. And then we can just sort of run over there and see. Yeah, this will work. So with the player, when the hitbox area is entered, yeah, so the player's already got the hitbox, so the player could probably handle its own dart detection, maybe. Because if the dart is on... If the dart goes on player damage... Mario Arna Jones. Yes, Chin Ninja. Very good. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I mean, this sprite needs basically doing again because it is just a retracing of Mario for now. We're gonna probably, I think we have to make it into something that looks more original. But for now, you know, it's a quick way to get something that looks good going. Right, so now that they're on there, they do damage us. So that's interesting. Yeah, they could all have the same function name. Yeah, true. The thing that I'm thinking is because I've already set up the damage taking system here, which I want to use. I don't want to like bypass this. So what we should do is have the player be responsible for destroying the dart when it gets hit by it. So we'll make the dart be in a group called dart. And then when a dart hits you, whatever happens, if, and we're going to use the area now, get parent. If area get parent is in group dart, then kill it. In fact, let's say destroy or something. And then the dart can have a function called destroy, because later on we're going to want to add effects to this. We're going to want to be like, every time the dart dies, do these things. So we'll house that in there, and now the player can call destroy on the parent of the area, which is the dart, which will destroy it. So whenever the player gets hit by a dart, the dart gets destroyed, and then we deal damage. So that means now if it's in group player pass, that's actually, we want to leave that in there. We just want to say, look, if you hit the player, don't do anything, because like the player's got you. The player's going to destroy you. Can the dart hit something and go through? No, but we just want it to we want to be in control of what it does. Like if it hits the player can deal with that because it's taking damage. If it hits one of these guys, I mean, maybe these, yeah, maybe these guys could also do their own dart detection, but I don't think so. I think the easiest way now is for this to be like, because also the dart can feed the direction to the box or the idol. So I think this is going to work nicely. So we'll say like get dart force or get dart push or something. Get hit by dart. Let's just call it what it is. Say it as you see it. So if the body is that, then do that to the body. You say, I'm the dart, I've hit something, I'm destroyed. Yeah, true. Either way, it's going to be destroyed at the end. Yes, we have the invincibility frames already built in. We have a damage cooldown on the player, so I set that up already yesterday. That's why, yeah, I mean, this, look, it isn't mad elegant because this dart now is interacting with different things in different ways, but like the player already has its damage system there, so we're just gonna just do this. It's for a jam, this will be fine. All the dart needs to know is that if it hits the player, don't do anything because the player's gonna handle everything. And then because I don't want there to be a possibility of the dart destroying itself before the player recognizes that its hitbox has been entered. Particularly if we start changing the shape of the hitboxes and the collision shapes later. Anyway, so now all we need to do is add this get hit by dart functionality to the box. And once it's done that, it can then destroy itself. The thing is, yeah, if I put destroy in here, I'm just nervous that when the dart and the player collide, the destroy function may kill the dart before the player realizes that it's been hit. So we just want that the player being hit to definitely be the only thing. If the dart's hitting the player, that's the only thing that can happen, right? Oh, thanks, Chin Ninja. Thanks for the subscribe. Much appreciated. Big up yourself. And I hope you enjoy it around here. You might find we do a lot of permadeath gaming as well. I flick between game development, occasionally making music, and like, yeah, permadeath games, Project Zomboid, hardcore Minecraft, these kinds of things. So yeah, welcome to the gang. So now we want get hit by dart on the box and on the idol. let's start by putting it on the box, because why don't I have my box script? Oh, interesting. The box and the idle currently don't have scripts. Maybe we can keep it that way, because all it is, these are rigid bodies, and all we've got to do is apply a force to them. So we should just be able to call some functions on them here. Let's think about that for a second. Because they're just going to have the exact same function. So we could just do it from in here. So if I look at a rigid body in... So we apply forces to it. Applies a directional force without affecting rotation. A force is time dependent and meant to be applied every physics update. This is going to be using apply force at the body's center of mass. Okay. An impulse is time independent. Applying an impulse every frame will result in a frame rate dependent force. Apply central impulse, and then there's just a vector. Wow. So is it really as simple as just that? Like, do we just go like this? Direction. And then, I mean, maybe it's going to be like we want to times that by some sort of... Go on. So, I mean, that might be working, and the force is just so small it just isn't moving. So if we did like direction times like 1,000, is it going to just go flying across the screen? Yes. By 10? I want it to move like a block. Like one tile. 10 isn't enough. 100. That looks good. Okay, that looks very good. This is so fucking easy. So let's call this force and have it be a constant up here. And we'll try 150 and see if 150 makes it move like a whole tile. Yeah, that's not bad. So there's 3 tiles there, but it was on the first one, so it's still not quite strong enough. 200 maybe. There we go. Look at that. That's nearly there. The impulse is not predictable. They're not. What is that? So time independent means that, like, on a slower computer or whatever, it's going to go further because we're not like using delta or whatever. So if the force was like 180, I think that might be about right. But then what you're saying is on other people's computers that might be different. That's nearly there. 185. That's looking pretty perfect. All physics calculations are not predictable. Okay, well, let's not open that can of worms right now then. let's just move on. It's working. It's fucking working. And if we throw the idle up there, which is going to be hard to do because... Ow. Yeah, I just got shot. Yeah, I mean, it works. And when we're holding the idle, it doesn't. Yeah, that's interesting. It can't be knocked out of your hands. Okay, well, do we want to change that somehow? You kind of want it to like... Yeah, if body is in group player, which it would be, like, you know, if you're holding something, then this is that collider there. We want to basically say if this collider is active and you hit it, get destroyed. What happens if the box in your head then gets hit by a dart? Yeah, nothing. Yeah, I think it should be okay. I don't think we'll have puzzles quite that precise. Like as long as the darts can move the blocks around, we have that option to design puzzles around it. But I don't think we're going to make many time critical puzzles. We want it to be more of a thinker than an action game. The question is, how do I separate this collider? How do I detect specifically that one, which is being switched on whenever we're holding the... Oh, it's even more complicated than that though, because when you're... Okay, so when you hold... Look, there is some complications here. To have it hit the thing that we're holding. So when you hold it, we can crouch. And then at that point, we're using just these two colliders. So the top one becomes up there. And here's another thing. Your hitbox, I think, is not changing shape when we crouch. So that's another problem, because I would like to be able to dodge the darts by crouching. Obviously not in this case, we can't do that, but like, let's say the darts are being fired from up here. No fair. Okay, so dart and player collisions need some work still. Rob, yes, hello, how are you? Big up yourself. No better place to spend a lunch break. Can't the object you're holding retain its own collider? So, yeah, we found it a lot easier when we were setting this up. I tried to do that in the first instance, but then you're moving this object, you're like attaching a rigid body to the player, and it was just easier. We just destroy it, and we just show a sprite on top of the player, basically. So... we need to think about this, because the player actually does need to have their hitbox shrink. The player needs two hitbox colliders, I think, a high and a low one. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Because when you're crouching, you want to be crouching, right? So we're going to have to say low collider there, duplicate, high collider, and then make the high one up there. The low one's still down there, that's good. And then we just need to add removing the high collider when you crouch. That's the first thing to isolate, is just to make it so that we can't get shot in the head, regardless of whether we're carrying something around or not. Let's make it so you can't get shot in the head when you're crouching, because that makes no sense at all. So there is a handle crouch somewhere. Handle crouch. If that's pressed, then play crouching, and if you're on the floor, then make... So whenever we're crouching, we're inside here. So got the hitbox there. We've got the mid and the high colliders there as well, which we could look at later. But what we want is that. We want a hitbox high collider. And then we want to say call deferred. No, just call deferred. In fact, no, not call deferred. Set deferred, isn't it called? And set deferred disabled true. And then I guess in there, we have a handle colliders. It should go in here. I remember this now. So when you're crouching, weird that it's letting me get away with setting these without using set deferred. Sometimes it gets really funny about that. Okay, well, let's see if we can get away with just doing this like that then. And then false. So now we should be able to dodge the nice. Yeah, so we still want it to hit. We basically, now what we want to do is we want to say like, well, let's see. Let's just test this then. So if the body is in group player, we just destroy. Can it still deal damage to us? Yes. But then that's good. And then if I do this, why not? Because look, my collision shape is that big. You see? So that's interesting. It doesn't think it's colliding with a player there. But those colliders are. Also, if it's the body is in group player, then it's being destroyed. We don't need to destroy it here, because that's just going to be happening for free. Why not? Let's have visible collision shapes on her. So when I pick up this, very difficult to tell because of all of our shaders. The shaders are being applied to the visible collision shapes as well. It looks like we're losing one though. Okay, hold on. If I make that invisible and make those invisible, then we should just have regular or grayscale with nice normal colliders on. Here we go. And then you can see the collision box behind it. body is in group player. The body is in group player. It should be hitting mid collider. And it's on... The player's on layer 3, but the dart is not looking at player. The dart's looking at... Where's the dart? The dart's area is only looking for the player damage. Oh, it's on player damage, but it needs to be looking at player. In fact, it needs to be looking at all of those. That's the problem, I think. This should work now. Yeah, nice. But it doesn't damage the player. And then if we're stood up like this, we can get shot in the head. And then if we drop the thing and we duck, then it can just go right past. Perfect. That's working. So the dart is just being destroyed there, but it must, I think the thing is, because those hitboxes are taking up the same space, in that frame where this is triggered, this must also be triggered. They must just both be triggered on the same frame every time. It's slightly nerve-wracking because I think if we changed the shapes, we could end up in a situation then where it's possible that the dart destroys itself because it's hit the player before the player realizes it's been hit. So, yeah, but I think we just have to say it's working now, and that's fine. And I think if the player's holding the block, we don't want the player knocked back by the dart. That's fine. The blocks only get knocked when when they're not being held by a player. And so that, to my mind, is this whole bit and this whole bit done, which is pretty nice. So I've got probably about an hour more to put into this morning before I'm going to go out for the day. Might be back on later, but no promises. So let's see if we can get underwater breath going now. And let's put our shaders back on and get rid of the collision shapes. Ow. Yeah. Shot in the... Oh, game over. Okay. Cool, it's working. Oh, one thing we haven't tested. I'm presuming it's not going to do much. What if this is on top here? Okay, that's pretty cool. Now what happens if we're holding the idle? Okay, that's fun. Oops. That's pretty cool. So like also then I wonder if like Gravity Boy we could sort of spring ourselves up. You know. If I jumped at just the right moment there. There could be a puzzle in that. But yeah, it's looking good. It is looking good. Righto. On with the show. What's next? The next thing is going to be the water and having some kind of holding your breath type mechanic on the player. So I guess we can go into Sprite for this. Make a new file. I'm thinking 6 pixels high is going to be enough, and the width will want to be 48. I think this should be fine. And then we want the palette from here. Save palette as preset. Okay, we'll call it GB4. And then over here, load palette, GB4. Nice. And then this does not need to be fancy. Have it be filled with grey. Minecraft style bubbles. I did think about Minecraft style bubbles. My thought was like to have 3 bubbles appear on the other side, like kind of mirroring the 3 hearts. And then like when you picked it up, you could have the same thing where the 2 skulls come in. But I think just a little bar under the hearts is also nice. We were talking about it last night. I think that was... But then there's, I mean, so if this is 48, we're going to have 46 potential values, yeah? So that's fine. So if I go new frame like that, Alt N, and we want to go up to 46. Like so. And then we'll start at number 1. Number 2. 3. This is going to be hard to keep doing accurately without like messing one up probably. Did I get that right? Yeah. So this is like Tomb Raider, isn't it? Do you remember Tomb Raider had these kind of just absolutely classic horizontal bars? See if this lines up. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I guess we need a 47th one, which is it empty. But we probably don't need it to be empty because you'll die when you empty. stretch to fill via code. Yeah, that would have been an elegant way of doing it. Okay, so we've got this sort of doing its thing. And then we want another version that's only a third of the size. So shouldn't be too tricky. Just do the same thing but smaller. Yeah, we could definitely make it look prettier, couldn't we? It's fine. I'm imagining. Oh, I don't want that over there. I'm imagining that like this may get replaced later anyway by Rob. Potentially. So oh wait, hold on. Is this silly? Because it's going to be a lot easier. Oh no, we can just do it like this, can't we? Do it backwards, just so it feels like we're sort of changing a little bit what we're doing. I guess 15 is right. Yeah, so that's got its 14 frames. That's got its 46. I guess we'll just make your air be a number out of 46. And then let me just export these, I guess. So we just want those 14 frames first. Export as a sprite sheet. Selected frames. Okay. I have to do that maybe. Is that going to make it happy? Just still does the first and the last. Okay, well, you can do these tags, can't you? And then we'll do another tag like that. Okay, so then, right now we just want tag 1, layer 2. That's it. And so we'll say air bar small. Export. And then export sprite sheet. Tag 2. That's the one. Air bar large. Okay. And now they should be in the player folder in here. Sweet. And then we want a sprite air bar large Small. Right, 2 seconds. I'm just going to go grab a snack. Got food I need to eat. Alright, boom, 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 boom. Let's go. How much time have I got? Yeah, I probably can get this implemented, I hope. Get my food. My food going. I've got some sushi left over from yesterday. Nice, that's where I want it. 9-patch rect. Oh yeah, I know about the 9-patch rect. 9-patch rect is very cool. It's kind of like a tile map for Windows. So you define the 9 kind of quadrants, you know. I guess they're not called quadrants when there's 9 of them. But like, you know, you've got top left, top middle, top right, left, you know, middle left, middle, middle right. And then as you resize it, it keeps the corners, it stretches the edges and stretches the middle in between. Right. And then the large one has this guy on. Has 46 frames. And it just goes in the exact same spot. And yeah, then we can just make one of them visible and invisible. I guess they're both invisible to begin with. If I just put that there, have a look at what it looks like in situ. Yeah, that'll do for now. It's kind of ever so slightly too long because you'd sort of really want it to line up with the edges. It's like 2 pixels too long. The long one is. Interesting. Kind of annoying. But never mind. Is it definitely 2 pixels? It looks like it might just be 1. Oh, I see. It's 2 pixels when you're holding the heads and 1 pixel when you've got a heart there. And I guess if you've lost a heart, yeah, then it's 2 again. I think it's fine. This is a jam game, innit? Let's just go with it as it is. Yeah, true. Although you'll always see the bounding box, even when it's half empty. But the first thing here is that actually the water is a whole thing. Like we have this water shader object here that Pete's made. It's just a sprite with a shader on it. So like, how do we detect when we're inside it? We actually kind of need the water to be like a scene that we can like instantiate in places. It may be sensible to let Pete actually finish working on that before I implement this. You know? Because I'm just thinking, I mean, I suppose I could just give the sprite an area as a child for now. And in the long run then, you know, because it could be its own physics collision layer, couldn't it? Water. Layer 5. And then the player can just track whether it's colliding with that or not. Just going to go to Lou. I'll be back in 1 minute. You could also just have two separate things. The graphic sprite and the visible thing you call water that is just the collision shape. Unless you want water to move, that is. Well, yes, we were thinking about having water levels be something that you can affect with buttons. It would be cool, wouldn't it? You know, if you put a block on a button, the water rises a bit. You put another block on this one, it lowers a bit. You know, and you have less oxygen while holding the idle, but there might be moments where you still need to bring the idle through some water, and the only way to get it through would be to lower the water level first. Yeah, exactly. Aquaboy, eat your heart out. I mean, all of that stuff started with the first Game Boy Jam we did 2 years ago, where we made Gravity Boy. This is kind of where it all began. So I feel like we're going back to our roots with this one, doing a puzzle platformer. Indiana Water Boy. No. Laurie, how are you today? Welcome. Never developed a proper jump and run game before. Every time I see you developing one of these games, I feel like trying it myself. Nice. Yeah, good stuff. I've made a few platform games. I haven't done loads of them, but I suppose we spent a lot of time on Aquaboy, didn't we? Which I think I may still come back to that project one day. It just ended up getting way too epic. It's just too big. Oh, that was the first thing, was Aquaboy. Yeah, nice. So, just temporarily then, we're going to put an area on here. It's going to be water. just do that. And that will be fine for now. Just for testing purposes, yeah? And in fact, if we're talking about testing purposes, then let's, let's move it over here so we can kind of more immediately test it. Okay, and then the player's going to need to be able to basically say, look, am I underwater, yay or nay? So does the player need another detection scenario here? I think so, because you know what we want to do? We want to make it so that it's specifically the player's mouth. It's the player's head. This is the part that matters. So let's have like another area called water detection. And we'll give it a collider. And that collider can just be like a little circle. We'll move the water detection thing to like here, to the player's head. And then when you crouch, we could move it down even, would be kind of fun. But maybe that's overcomplicating things, and maybe what we want to do is just that. Because then when you crouch, it's probably roughly in the same place. We'll start with that for now. If I feel like we want to move it around when you're crouching later, then we could always do that. But for now, we'll just have this little spot in the middle of the player there. But I guess that means anything even down that low. Let's do that. I think that's fine. And then we could count how many things are in and underwater, but the lazy way of doing it is to just like have it be in the physics process, just checking for water the whole time. So handle all these things, handle pickups, handle colliders. Let's put it in here. Handle water. In here. So then we just want to say like here. If the number of overlapping areas is greater than 0, like now you're underwater, right? Else like you aren't underwater. When you're not underwater, if, oh yeah, and then we need a breath kind of variable for the player. Air, just call it air. And it can default to 46. Yeah, that should be fine. If you're not underwater, then if unlucky and air is less than 14, air plus equals 1. Well, if not unlucky and air is less than 46, I think that works. Why is it unhappy? Oh, we don't have unlucky as a state for the player. We just have pickup. We have if pickup is idle. That's how the player does it. So if you're holding the idle and your air is less than 14, then it can come back up. Now, if you pick up the idle, so if air is greater than or equal to 14, then air is 14, and we can like hide all of the GUI elements, which we don't have references to those yet. We're just going to end up with so many if statements here. I know this is a messy way of doing it, but let's just keep being messy. Just make them both. In fact, that should just not need to go there. That should need to go in here. Then just set it to 46 and make the large one disappear. Now, if you're underwater, I think it just probably want all the same conditions. So if you're holding the idle, and air is less than, I think we want it the other way around. We want it less than or equal to or greater than. If it's greater than, we just bring it straight down to 14. If it's less than or equal to 14, we take one away. If it's greater than 14, we set it to 14 and we make it visible. Either way, we make it visible. And then if you don't have the pickup and your air is less than or equal to 46, then we take one away. And if for any reason it's greater than 46, which it would never be, Then we'd set that. And we want to make this visible, make that visible. I'm sure there's some holes in this, but I think it's probably pretty good. Let's see. No, okay, it just doesn't work at all. Water detection needs to be on. It needs to be looking for water, and the water area is on water, and the player is looking for water. Yeah, that should now work. Yeah, okay. I think it's working, but we're not. No, I guess what we want to do is print air. So we should just be getting 46s everywhere like that, and then we go in here and it goes down, and it just keeps going down. Of course, it shouldn't go. And then, so then we want to just say, like, if air is less than or equal to 0, then dead. Doesn't matter how much health you've got. Let's just kill you at that point. Okay, and now it's going down way too fast, obviously. So we probably want like a timer that like triggers. Because at the moment it's like every frame. But we probably want it like we want like the player to have like a water tick. So let's have air, and then we'll have air value or something, which by default will be like -1. Yeah, and then we want to do air value equals -1 in here because we're losing air. Same goes for there. And then here it can be 1. And here it can be 1, because this is where we're gaining air. And then we just want to have a timer on the player. And in fact, wait, sorry, the air value could just be 0 by default, actually. And then we can just say when you're if it's greater than or equal to 14, you set it to 14, but you set air value to 0 in here. And same goes for there. So when you're outside of the water, you gain air until you reach full for whatever spot you're in, and then you just stop gaining it. And then we just want to have like a timer in here called like a water tick timer or something, and this guy will time out, and we'll make it so that it's like what, every, I don't know, like 0.2 seconds or something. It's not a one shot, it's an auto start, and whenever it times out we go air plus equals air value. And every time we do this, this is when we would want to update the GUI for the air timer thing. And it should be as simple as doing these equals like dot frame equals air, and this one we just say like if air is I guess it's gonna be -1. Right, and then if air -1 is less than or equal to 14, then you can do the small one as well. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Is it because I've done the sprite sheet sort of backwards? Yes, it is. Okay, I wonder if I can just re-export these the other way around without having to change any code. So if I do export sprite sheet, sprite tag 2, tag 1 to kick things off. That would be very nice if there was just a reverse order, but it doesn't look like there is. So that's fine, we can just do it in code here. So for the large bar, it's 46 minus that. And for the small bar, it's like 14 minus that, I think. Should be right. I'm going to jump out. And it disappears. Yeah, okay. So now that I'm not holding the idle anymore, it doesn't know to make that bar invisible. And yeah, we have all sorts of weird overlapping things, I guess. Also, you want to regain oxygen faster than you lose it. So like -1 and -1 is fine here, but these should maybe be like 4 or 5 or something when you regain it. Nice. We got an error. Yeah, when the frames are out of bounds, that's a shame. I mean, if we could do this inside the handle water function instead, which would kind of ensure that the values have been processed before we sort of animate based on them. Does that get rid of those errors? Yeah, nice. I think this is going to be filled with bugs, though. There's going to be all sorts of weird edge cases for the way I've built this. Things that aren't being captured by all these ifs. No, everything should be captured, because either you have the idle or you don't. And in each case, either your air is, you know, above the maximum or below it. In each case. The thing is just swapping between them. It's just making sure that every time we pick up and put down the idle, that swap happens. Right, let's see what bugs we can make. Yeah, okay. So I put down the idle mid recovery. So we're not in the water. Yeah, so I think it's like when you're in the water, then you always want this to be visible, and you always want that to be visible, and you always want the other one to be. Let's just put in all the like negative constraints, because you never want both of them. So we just say that's always invisible, that's always invisible here, and then for this guy, it's the small one that will always be invisible. Whenever you're not holding the idle, that one has to go. Okay, now I just do the same in all four of these. So when you're holding the idle and your air is less than 14, then you definitely want the small bar visible and the big one to be not. Then if you're holding the idle and your air is there, then neither need to be visible. Okay, now if you're not holding the idle and your air's less, then it's like the reverse of this. The small one shouldn't be shown and the big one should be. And then again with this one, it's just neither need to be there. So now that we've got every single option for every single option, I think maybe all the bugs are gone now. Oh no, look. Oh yeah, that is it. That's right. It's just because it went up so quickly back to maximum. Yeah, there you go. Looking good. That's looking very good. Yeah, that works. And then if I'm in the water with lots of air and then I pick it up, I just go straight down to nothing. I think it's working. I think that's it. I think we got it. Water is in. And if you drown, if you eventually drown, we get game over and we get tons of errors. But that's fine, because when it first triggers game over, we should reset the level or something. Okay, so that's water done. Should I do restart level on game over now? Because I think that would be cool. And it's like the beginning of the scene manager script here. So we'll create a scene manager script and we'll just make a function called restart current level, which we can change to be a little bit more, I don't know, interesting. But for now, the crux of it is active level or active scene index is what I like to call this, and it's going to be 1 at the moment. So we just get child is it get child or get node? Which one takes a path? No, so get child takes the index. So we put active scene index in there. Dot Q3. And then level equals sandbox dot instantiate, and then add child level. So now when we call this, it should just destroy the sandbox node and reload it again. And then we should be able to, from the player's script, say, look, when you die, don't print game over, just get a couple of parents, get your grandparent, and restart current level. And that should then reload the player. It should set all of our values back to default values now. Okay, we still got like a shitload of errors though. And it's all about those. But it did seem to work. But yeah, doing this here I think isn't the right place to do it either. I guess we just say like if air is greater than 0, then you can consider doing any of that stuff. Still got 24 errors somehow. Is it because these should be like +1 because we're subtracting them now? I think that might be it. Whoa, now we're just getting bugs for days. Oh, it doesn't like it to begin with. Yeah. Maybe it's just because maybe it should just be the number. I think that's probably right, actually. We went too far in the other direction. Yeah, nice. Nice. That's it. Oh, we still got a few there. Oh yeah, it's that -1 there that's causing the problems as well. We just don't need any of those -1s in there anymore. Very good. Very good. I think it's working. And then also if we die to darts, then we also restart the level. Ah, but we did get some errors then. Okay, yeah, so we could call deferred on that one. Call deferred restart current level, which needs to be a string. So now if we die to dots, lovely. And the dying to water still works, I'm guessing, with call deferred. Yeah, perfect. All right, well, that is the water done. And we've got that restart level on game over done as well. So that's it. I'm going to end the stream here. I need to get ready to go out now for the afternoon. But thank you all for watching. A little bit of early morning game development. And I may well stream again later. I'm going out to a wine tasting this afternoon. So there's a chance that I'm not in a good state for coding later. But let's see how I go. But yeah, lots more progress here, which is really good. And yeah, maybe I'll be back streaming later, or maybe you'll see me tomorrow, which I will definitely be doing a long stream in the afternoon tomorrow. So yeah, nice one. Shout outs to you, Stefano. Big ups. Maybe we'll have some drunk dank coding later. That could be fun. We'll see. Yeah, big up yourselves, everyone. Thanks for watching, and shout outs to you. Happy Tuesday, and catch you soon. Peace.